There's so much noise out there. Now, it's a combination of good noise and bad noise.
Yeah.
And I think for me as a journalist, I still feel there's still room for real journalism. One of the things that I found really interesting, when I started, BBC was phasing out tape machines. With the tape machine, you had to tape to cut sound using a razor blade, literally razor. And I found that very difficult. I remember thinking, gosh, am I going to be able to manage this job? Risks, very huge risks. And for journalists, I think the biggest risk is really...
Hey guys, welcome back to Totally African Podcast. We are back reporting live in Nairobi. It's such a beautiful day, and today I'm in the studio with the one and only, a woman you should learn from in the media industry. She has over 20 years of experience. She's a media consultant. She is a mentor. She has worked at BBC. And she's just a jack of all trades at this point. And she's also done work in United Nations. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Rachael Akidi. I wish there were drum rolls. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm so, it's a privilege to be in your presence, Miss Rachael. I'm so happy. Thank you so much for honoring our invite here on Totally African Podcast. And here we just tell the African story because we know everyone has a story to tell. And you're just a woman who has a big story to tell. You have a lot.
Big, we'll try.
Yeah. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you. And thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here with us. So my introduction was just minor. How would you describe yourself? Who is Rachael Akidi?
Who is Rachael Akidi? I think that's a very good question. I'm a journalist. I call myself a journalist, even if I left full-time journalism about 18 months ago. I have been a journalist for more than 20 years. Most of my career was spent with the BBC, where I worked in various capacities. I started off as a producer, which was a journalist.
Yeah.
Many years ago. I always say before you guys were born.
I think so. Literally. We're probably in diapers.
2002.
Wow.
When I joined BBC, I worked across different programs.
Yeah.
Mainly programs that are Africa facing. So Focus on Africa and Network Africa were the two English flagship programs for Africa. So I worked as a producer, and then obviously I rose up the ranks, became an editor. I started editing Focus on Africa before moving over to Nairobi to lead the BBC operations in East Africa. So I left about 18 months ago. And right now, I'm a full-time senior media consultant. I work with different organizations, supporting them with strategy. The media landscape is evolving very rapidly. This is globally. And so what I'm doing is really supporting organizations to navigate the changes that we are seeing and the challenges, and, hoping they will thrive through this, transitional period. Yeah.
You saying you actually mentor and help people strategize in their being a consultant, and how many people are you currently working with right now?
So I work specifically with organizations.
Okay.
Yeah. So at the moment, I'm working with a number of organizations, about 4. Wow. One of the most recent ones that we've been doing is around AI. I've also developed an interest in artificial intelligence. I've always been quite passionate about the intersection between journalism and AI. So one of the passionate projects that I'm working on is, supporting one of the media houses that I work with to deploy AI tools in their newsroom, and really asking the questions: what does newsroom leadership look like in the age of AI, and how can we take advantage of the benefits of AI in the newsrooms. So that is a project that we're currently working on, and I think it's probably my most passionate right now.
Yeah, okay. I think I also saw your story sometime when you're talking about it. And you mentioned how journalists should include AI in their day-to-day work and reporting. How would you actually say, how can we actually include that as journalists in terms of making sure you're not also just writing, prompting AI, and you get a whole story and you just put your name and sign it? You know what I mean? So what strategies can I use to use AI in a healthy way?
Yes. So AI is fantastic, and it's a game changer.
Yeah.
For not just the media, but for different sectors. But it has to be used responsibly, because with all the advantages that it has, there are also disadvantages. There are risks, very huge risks. And for journalists, I think the biggest risk is really around, credibility. There are issues around ethics, that we need to be aware of. So I personally want to be able to use AI, but to use it responsibly and ethically, and making sure that we do not drop our journalism ethics of truth, transparency, making sure things are verified. We should not leave it to AI. So yes, we can use it, and for me, the key thing is first of all understanding what it is,
Yeah.
understanding the things that I'm talking about. What is AI? What is the potential of it? But also, what are the risks? I think that should always be a starting point. And for media houses that I support, I also say you have to set up guidelines, come up with guidelines to support your journalists so that they know this is how we're going to use it, and this is how we shall not use it.
Okay.
So when it comes to things like generative AI, which you're talking about, ChatGPT, which I think everybody now uses,
Yeah.
Gemini, Copilot, and the rest, it's about understanding that we still need to be journalists. AI is just a tool. So yes, we can generate whatever we want with AI, but remember, it's just a tool that is helping you to do your job. So you still have to do your job as a journalist. Make sure you check whatever content, if you're generating content with it, it's generating, edit it. So we call it the human in the loop. There has to be a human in the loop. Regardless of how you're using it, there has to be someone to check. Because the other thing about AI is it hallucinates. It basically makes things up. They always say you should look at these AI tools as your little intern in the office. Most of the time, they're under pressure to say something or to do their best. And so they will try and do their best even when it's not their best. So with AI, especially generative AI, it hallucinates. It will make things up because you've asked, and it must give you an answer. In fact, I one time asked ChatGPT, why do you hallucinate?
Yeah.
And it
gave you an
responded
answer?
and said, I hallucinate because you guys put me under pressure.
We're over asking ChatGPT too many questions.
Asking me questions, and sometimes I might not know the answer.
Yeah.
But you're expecting an answer, so I will basically make it up. I'll make up something that will look true, because when you read it, it looks perfect. So understanding all those challenges, then if you begin to create content and it's not true, there's a credibility issue. That becomes a problem as well. Because if you're a media house and you've generated content using AI without checking it, and it's not true, who takes responsibility for that as well? Would you say it was the AI that did it, or was it us, the journalists or the editors? That is why it's important that journalists understand the benefits, but also understand the dangers, and ensure that there is always a human in the loop, but also use it responsibly, and do not, drop our ethical guidelines.
Yeah. Wow. In terms, actually, when we're talking about credibility, what are the fact-checking tools we can incorporate as journalists? Not even as journalists, in general, if you're doing research or just gathering information, what things can we do in order to know that these sites are the best places to get, the right information? Because the internet is so, there's too much. It's oversaturated,
Yes, I think one of the things that has happened, like I said, I've been a journalist for more than 20 years. And when I started, we had, TV, radio, and a bit of the internet with online platforms, which were not as big as they are today.
Yeah.
There was no social media. So people had limited sources of information. If you came to the BBC, you'll get reliable information.
Yeah.
We were quite dominant at the time across different parts of Africa and across different parts of the world. Nowadays, as you say, the internet has democratized information. People have a lot of access to information.
Yeah.
There's so much noise out there. Now, it's a combination of good noise and bad noise.
Yeah.
And I think for me as a journalist, I still feel there's still room for real journalism. The challenge we face right now is how you cut through that noise. And that means you have to be distinctive. You have to come up with programs and content that people cannot find elsewhere.
Yeah.
So for me, I would say everything, just because it's posted on the internet does not mean it's true. I'm always in WhatsApp groups with my family and friends, and you see people sharing stuff that is clearly not true and is either misinformation or disinformation. And I'm always the one who, responds and says fake news. And I sometimes feel, oh gosh, I think I'm beginning to sound like the negative one. Because
But you're helping people. Yeah. You're helping your family.
So I think people should be able to distinguish. I know it's hard because we as human beings are very gullible,
Yeah.
especially if you don't know this stuff. People get it and immediately think it's fact, So it's about going to more established sources and verifying. I was seeing some research recently by the Reuters Institute of Journalism that said in Kenya, 38% of people are now getting their news through TikTok, for example.
Oh my goodness.
And then it's mirroring what's happening in other parts of the world, like the US, not specifically TikTok, but social media and social platforms, content creators, podcasts, which were the non-traditional platforms. And what I found interesting is if you compare that to a country like the UK, it's only 6% who get their news on TikTok. And then when you compare it to Norway, it's people in Norway do get news from TikTok, but they follow established media houses who have a presence on TikTok. So in this case, it would be like if NTV had a presence on TikTok,
BBC.
Standard or BBC, whatever, CNN, they would go to those platforms, but on TikTok.
Okay.
In Kenya, it's content creators they're following, it's influencers they're following, who are also creating news or saying stuff about the news. So, but what was interesting as well in that research is that even if they do that, they still double check with established media houses. So yes, your influencer might be saying something,
but is it true?
May not have enough context.
Yeah.
They will give their opinions as well. So what they are doing is going back to verify. So I think it's important to ensure that if something sounds too outrageous, too ridiculous, too good to be true, always double check with the second source.
Okay.
Don't just focus on one source. Always just double check, just to make sure it's real. And if it's quoting someone, check those people's platforms as well, because a lot of the time people speak up. Most people have a presence. Most important people have a presence on social media.
Yeah.
So whatever you hear in the news, they'll probably have tweeted it or posted it on their social media accounts as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's very interesting. I think you also mentioned how you were in radio as the first platform you started on in 2002. I'm just trying to think about it. 2002, I was probably like in diapers, not even thinking. But what was radio like in 2002 compared to 2025 now? Like, I'm sure so much has changed.
I think a lot has changed and a lot has not changed, actually.
Okay.
Because it's still the same medium.
Yeah.
One of the things that I found really interesting, when I started, the BBC was phasing out tape machines. I will show you a tape machine.
No
and I
way.
think you need to put it up. So they were using
Yes.
tape machines, and
Yes.
this was technology that had been used since the 1960s. And at that time, as we did the training, they were introducing digital editing software, stuff like Adobe Audition, Dave at the time was what it was called, and it was one of the first and early editions of digital editing software. With the tape machine, you had to tape to cut sound using a razor blade, literally razor. And I found that very difficult. I remember thinking, gosh, am I going to be able to manage this job?
Yeah.
It's just week one of training, and I seem to be failing. But thankfully, they were phasing them out and they were introducing the digital. I found the digital editing much easier. But believe it or not, there were people who resisted transitioning from tape to digital. So they had to keep this tape machine at the back of the office for like a whole year for the late adopters, the resistors, because they found tape easy. They could edit an entire 1 hour documentary on tape.
On tape?
And this is different pieces of tape, stick it together with the sellotape. I will share with you.
Sellotape. I'm just trying to picture this. Like, how is this possible?
So that was how sound was made. And one of the other things was, a story would break in, let me say, Darfur or Kismayo or somewhere in Sao Paulo, and it would take days for you to get to know about it. I remember many times when stories broke in Eastern Congo, in Ituri region, in the east of Congo. And would get a call from one of the aid agencies on a Thuraya phone, which was a satellite phone from a very remote place, saying, there's been a massive attack here. It happened last week, and like 200 people were killed. And then you do that interview, and when you post it, okay, not post it at the time.
Yeah, but
when you publish it or broadcast it, it was huge. It would make a huge global story. Why? Because no one had heard about it. You were breaking it fast. So there were places in, Liberia, Sierra Leone, which were going through civil war, where people stopped to listen to our programs, to Focus on Africa and Network Africa, because they knew we were going to be bringing them the latest. And they stopped to listen because they were hearing about their country from us. So they were in the country, but they couldn't have enough information.
Yeah.
So that's how it was. Why? Because there were fewer sources of information. In Africa, most of the media was state-controlled. And, of course, over the years, it was liberalized. You had FM stations coming in. You had lots of private media houses being established in different parts of the country, lots of community radio as well. So it has evolved. It was different then because we also, even in terms of news gathering, our reporters would, phone us, sometimes would have to record them down the line, filing a dispatch.
My goodness.
And so the sound, depending on which country, because some countries had better quality telephones than others, would sometimes be terrible, but it's so important that you have to listen to this guy. Same thing with the guests. We'd phone them up and we do it over the phone. And yes, depending on where it was, sometimes the networks were so bad. And then sometimes you had to voice over because what he's saying is so important. And we need to hear directly from the source.
Yeah.
So in terms of technology, a lot has changed.
Okay.
And we now have a whole, proliferation of radio stations all over.
Yeah.
I think hundreds of thousands of them across the continent now. So it's very different. And of course, in terms of technology, it's also different. The quality is much better. I can pick my phone someone on, WhatsApp, and it's
quickly,
clear.
yes.
I can get vox pops on WhatsApp. Tell people, guys, please send us your voice notes without having to go to the streets.
Yeah.
And people send voice notes that I can, put together and, create a montage of different opinions. So it has completely changed. It has evolved, I think, in a very good way. Yeah.
If this was here in 2025, I don't think we'd have so many journalists because I don't think someone is going to start getting tape and like they start putting what to get sound. I'm like, no. But
we were committed.
Yeah, you were
to
committed.
Telling the stories. There's something about those days, and I can remember a lot of our reporters. We had people like Alfred Taban in Sudan who covered Sudan, including the liberation struggle by the SPLM for South Sudan to break away to become, uh, an independent country. We had reporters like Shola Odumva who covered Nigeria during the military days.
Yeah.
We had Kweku Sechado who covered, Ghana. Like we had these incredible reporters, Rafael Tentani in Malawi. They went through a lot, to get these stories. And a lot of the time, sometimes we tease them and say, we've been trying to get you on the phone and you can't get them. And when you went down on the ground, you got to understand the realities of what it takes to
knowing.
get a story on
Yeah.
air. Going through traffic, being beaten up by security forces, a lot,
Yeah.
Went into telling these stories. But these journalists were dedicated to covering their countries, to telling the stories of Africa, to documenting history, which I think is really one of our primary goals, to be, the first the first records of history. So there was a lot of commitment, and it was something we loved doing, because it had a lot of impact as well, as you say, because when it went out, it was big. And people understood why we're documenting these stories. So yeah, I think technology was different, it was challenging, but we didn't know anything else. That was what it was. It is what it is.
Yeah, literally.
So we did it. So I'm sure even the Gen Z, if they were born then,
I don't think would handle. Honestly, like Gen Z's one small inconvenience, just like, I'm done. Thank you very much. What's next? But I think also when you explained it and broke it down, you also have to see like in whatever you choose and in whatever path you choose, you have to have a lot of passion and dedication to whatever you're going to like report or put out there. Because it has to even move past you that this story is so important that whatever I'm beaten or they've stolen my camera, the world has to hear this story. So I think it's something I'm definitely going to think about because like in this generation, like look, we have so many cameras, we have so much access, but someone will still feel like, I don't think I'm ready yet. I don't think, but like 10, 20 years ago, people were still making an impact with even the little they had. Yeah. And speaking of impact, I was hearing your story, I think you had on another podcast where you are giving like a story how you, in Uganda, you used to work at the airport and clean the trolleys. Then that led you to BBC. I tried to jot the dots. I was like, join the dots. I was like, no, I'm going to ask her because, I definitely feel like you're a woman who just you're audacious. Like you have the you're a go-getter, and also journalism. You have to have the audacity to do things honestly. Yeah. So I feel like I'm not even belittling any role because the grind is the grind. Whatever you can make your money, make it. Because your position today was not your position the next day. So how did your mindset change? And I think you also saying how I think BBC, like there was something, the newspaper, your dad gave it to you and you felt like you didn't have enough experience. And even something like BBC, you feel like you have to have all the experience. You're also competing with international kids who are privileged, kids who are out there. So how did that experience shape you and lead you to actually working in BBC?
So the truth is, I'd always wanted to be a journalist from when I was a kid. And I still remember when my dad would bring the newspapers home, we would fight over them. And to the extent that we'd have to share. He's like, no, you need to share. Give one page to that and then you give 4 pages. So with my sisters, we'd fight over papers and would read papers back to back. Yeah. I don't know why, but for some reason we loved reading. We loved reading books, all of us actually, and the newspapers. And there was a journalist called Toya Kilama who used to be a journalist on TV, on Uganda television, which is state-controlled TV at the time. And I used to admire him because he would follow the president. And I think the main attraction initially was travel. So he was part of the presidential press unit and he would travel wherever the president goes. So sometimes it's Toya Kilama in Benghazi, or Toya Kilama in Brazil, Toya Kilama in New York. And I'm thinking, wow, that's amazing. I want to be like him when I grow up. And the other thing was also the fact that he was, rubbing shoulders with all these interesting people. I thought, I want to travel. I want to be able to meet people and tell stories, from different parts of the world. So I wanted to be a journalist. So when I worked at the airport doing the whole trolley cleaning and stuff, I was in my, I don't know how, A-level vacation.
Yeah.
So it's that break you take between A-level and joining uni. Yeah. So I wanted a job and I got a job at the airport. So I was part of they used to call us stewards, which is a good name for cleaners. And so we used to, when the trolleys came off the plane, we'd wash them, make sure we pack them.
Yeah.
So everything you had on the plane, I knew how all of that works behind the scenes. Then obviously I went to university a few months after that, and I maintained my job there. And I remember one day, I became a supervisor. I got promoted. So I became a leader quite early on. So I got promoted and became an airline supervisor. So that meant you had your own airline that you'd work on and make sure they get the best in-flight service. So I was working on British Airways and I met this crew. So you'd meet the crew because they have to sign the invoices and everything. And they asked me, so what do you do? I said, I'm a student. And what do you want to become when you grow up? I said, well, I want to be a journalist. And they're like, wow, where? And I said, with the BBC.
Yes.
And I remember them looking like, oh, and then
Like, all the best.
like, good luck.
Yeah.
And then one of them said, it's really hard to get into the BBC.
Yes.
Especially when you're not in the UK. And I said, yeah, I know. But you asked me what I want to be. What's my ambition? And that is what I want. That's my dream. And, a few years later, the BBC advertised. I'd just graduated, literally waiting for graduation, actually. I'd finished, but waiting for graduation. And so they advertised. It was in the East African newspaper. So my dad came home and he just tossed the newspaper at me and said, the BBC has advertised, they need some journalists. And I remember laughing out so loudly because I didn't have any experience. The only experience that I had was through moonlighting. I'd been writing for the two dailies, the Daily Monitor and the New Vision, as a freelance contributor. And then I'd also done a bit of radio.
Yeah.
The women's radio station, which I used to do over the weekend. I'll just go and read the news bulletins. So
that's experience.
Yes.
Yeah, so I would say that's a lot of experience.
It wasn't like the 2 years solid experience that they were asking for.
Yeah.
But what I thought then was, when I looked at the advert, I thought, you know what, I'll convince them. I'll tell them this actually counts. And I'll admit that I'm not as experienced as they might be looking, but I want to grow within the organization, which is what I did. And it's so funny that a few years ago, I found that, and it was a handwritten application, I found a copy of it that I kept for myself.
That is so powerful.
And I remember thinking, wow, this is so convincing. I would recruit her. I would recruit this girl, this little girl, this 22-year-old.
What?
So
22 in BBC?
Yeah, so that was amazing. So I joined just before my 23rd birthday. And,
wow.
History. Yeah.
Wow. That is just, I don't know. I feel like there's still some loopholes. There's some things you may not be wanting to spill, but I feel like, I don't know, this is very powerful that, you'll be around people who also undermine you, like, oh, I don't think you should. Oh, you're dreaming too big. Oh, you don't have so much. Yeah. But you kept on pushing through. And that is a very good quality to have.
And it is. And because I remember when I did, so we had to do internship while we were at university. And now, because I had my hustle, then I had uni, and then I had internship. I had to juggle the three. So I was a hustler, actually.
Everyone. The realist.
So I used to go for my internship, which was with the newspaper.
Yeah.
And then I would get assigned, go and cover this police press conference, go and cover this. And I would always go, write, deliver, and then head off to work, as in my airport work. Now, so I was barely present, I think. So I remember one day my supervisor, who happened also to be a lecturer, when the internship was over, we were supposed to basically give them a form to fill, which they could send to the uni. So he gave me back my envelope with the assessment. And when I read the assessment, he had been asked, do you think there were objective, sort of questions with options. Has this person been attending? How reliable have they been? He kept saying yes, she's been coming.
Yeah.
Was she able to deliver? Yes. How reliable was she? He put not sure.
Not sure.
And then would you recommend this person to, pursue a career in your field? And he said, not sure. And I remember thinking, I was not supposed to open it. I did. I remember thinking, what do you mean?
Not sure. I know it's a bit.
You're not sure.
Yeah.
Like, is it you to determine who I become? I'm going to become a journalist and I'm going to shame you. And I was so determined. That was in my second year. My third year, I said, I'm not even going to do, I was very interested in print, by the way. So I decided to go into PR, which was what I majored in my final year.
Yeah.
And I did my internship with a PR firm. But I was so determined that, like, almost to disprove him, which when I look back now wasn't necessary, but it was good in a way that he said that because it pushed me.
It pushed you, yeah.
And many years later, I was in London, Bush House, and I get an email from him saying, I'm coming to Oxford I think he was coming to study.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to come and visit Bush House.
Oh, wow. Now the tables have turned.
Yes, you are very welcome, sir.
Wow, you're so humble, Rachael.
But I don't think he remembered.
You should have remembered. No, now he'll remember.
But the whole point was, see, you said you're not sure that I can become a journalist, but here I am. And I was so proud. And I hope he was proud as well. We're buddies.
Yeah. Oh, so you moved past it and everything.
Moved past it.
Okay.
I didn't even have any issues, to be honest with him.
The results will speak for you. You know what I mean? I don't even have to say that, oh, I'm doing ABCD. It's just like,
now
know. You know, like, now you know. Like,
I didn't have to say him. And the thing is, he didn't even know that I'd seen it. I was not supposed to have seen it.
Oh, yeah.
But I saw it and I thought, okay, I'm just going to display it. Which is fine.
It's okay, the table was turned, and I guess that's also what maybe motivated you mostly, because sometimes people always feel like I need to have a lot of positive energy around me to push me, but majority of people get comfortable in that, and I'm doing so well, but you actually never get out of your comfort zone.
No, you don't. And one of the things I always say, and I learned a lot from that, even when I went on to lead other journalists, because I felt a lot of the time people say we're not good enough, or we cannot become. And I felt if you don't know the passion and the drive this person has, so on the surface, it might not be there. Or they might not reflect it the way you think it should be reflected. So for me, every time I met a young journalist who said, I want to do this, I ask them, how much do you want to do it? And if they say, I really want to do it, even if they're not capable at that point, I know they will do it because I learned from that.
Yeah.
And I always used to tell my editors, if you have people on your teams who want to grow, and they want to do something to challenge themselves, don't, put them off. If they say they want to do it, give them a chance to do it.
Yeah.
It's different from someone saying, I'm not interested. But if someone says, I want to, then they know they're going to try and do their best to do it. So give them a chance. Yeah.
That's very powerful. And speaking about the whole BBC experience, because we worked for over 20 years there, right?
21 years.
21. 21 years and working for BBC is those are very many years of dedication, of putting in your work, of climbing the ladders. How did you master working at a young age? Because people get to undermine you a lot, and someone would be like, who is this small girl who is telling me I should work on my report and edit this and tweak this? Maybe you even didn't notice that at that age, but what would you tell a younger journalist in the media industry right now?
Yeah, I think my story is, quite interesting because when I started a few months later, I began to lead like a whole night shift editing Network Africa. So I was leading people who were much older than me and more experienced than I was. So yes, I did suffer from imposter syndrome, feeling like,
Yes.
what am I even doing here? But I remember my editor telling me, there's a reason why you've been chosen to do this. And there's a reason why the people you're leading have not been chosen to do it. So we believe in your editorial judgment.
Yeah.
We believe you're competent to do this job as a team leader. So do it.
Yeah.
Yes, you'll make some mistakes along the way.
Yeah.
You might have some poor judgment errors, and that is fine as long as you recognize and you learn from them. So that is what I took with me, to know that there's a reason why I am here, and therefore I should be confident enough to lead. And yes, take responsibility for the amazing programs we're going to produce and the mistakes we're going to make. And so that is what I recognized, I think, much earlier on. Because as you say, yes, it's true that people can undermine you. And I was undermined a few times.
Yeah.
I was challenged. But I think what helped me was understanding and trying to empathize with them, with some of the people. Because I would probably act the same if he brought me some little kid to lead. Yeah. So I could see where
the age gap was really, right?
There was a huge age gap.
Okay.
But the other thing was also even the experience. Because they've been doing this for like 20 damn years. And I'm like 22, 23. I'm trying to be like, I know these things, So, and recognizing that, but also respecting their experience is another thing. Because I knew that, yes, I've only been out of uni like for a year or two. These people have been out here working. They know the continent. They know Africa more than I do. I didn't even know Africa. I knew Uganda, not even as well, So I had to recognize their experience and respect them as well.
Yeah.
So even when we disagreed, it was respectful. I'll tell them why I don't think I will go with there. But I made sure I listened.
Yes.
So listening is important. I listened to every suggestion they made. And then I decided to make my own judgments. Like, okay, do they have a valid point? And if they did, I'll take it on board. If I felt my suggestion is stronger and better, then I'll tell them, yeah, I think it's a good idea, but we're going to go with mine. And with time, I was able to win over their confidence and respect. Yeah.
Okay. So what key things did you learn working at BBC?
Gosh, a lot.
Yeah. Like at least 5 things you could say.
One of the things that people always ask, and you alluded to it there, like, how do you stay with the same organization for a long time?
Yeah.
And the one thing I loved about the BBC was you don't do the same thing. If you want to move around and you want to grow, it offered the most amazing opportunities. One, I don't know whether there's any other organization in the world that invests in people. It has world-class training. There are opportunities to move around. Like I said, I joined as a radio journalist. I went on to do TV. I went on to do digital. I went on to lead teams. I've literally performed almost every editorial role in the newsroom. Okay. So there was an opportunity to spread your wings. There was an opportunity to grow within the organization. So I didn't do the same thing. In the 21 years, I was doing different things. I had different roles across that period. And a question many of the young journalists who joined used to ask me, they used to ask exactly the same thing. And they asked me, so why did you stay that long? I said that was one, opportunities to grow. And the second thing was the values.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the values are amazing as an organization. So those are some of the things that I valued. What I learned is your manager, regardless of where you're working, is not responsible for your career. You are responsible for your career. The other thing is, I said it recently in one of my clips, an institution cannot love you back. And this is a message I think I like to give to young people. When you go, a lot of us have a sense of entitlement, but actually an institution is an institution. It's not even a person.
Yeah.
So it can't love you back because people are going to come and go. People come and go. So the institution remains. The BBC is 100 years old, more than 100 years old. People have come and left. The institution is still there. So don't get in there with a sense of entitlement. When you go in there, try and get the most, learn, excel, be your best, but also take what you can, like, the training, the development opportunities, the exposure, the relationships, which will help you even when you leave the organization. And the third thing is, always set your benchmarks for success. Most of the time, we want our managers to pat us on the back and say, well done. And then that will motivate me to do that better. No, I think you should know when you've done well. And I think one of the things that I used to say is when I walk out of a building at the end of the day, in the evening, I'm like, yeah, that was a good program, Rachel. Well done. Tell myself, well done, because I know it was good. And the days when I would know that was not good enough.
Yeah.
So when the manager's praise and applause comes, that is a bonus. Because you already know. When he tells you, well done, you're like, yeah, I know I did a good job already. It's not what is going to motivate you.
Yeah.
You're already motivating yourself. And the final thing is, no matter what you've been through, nothing you go through is ever wasted. Because yes, there will be challenges. Yeah?
Wow.
But whatever you go through prepares you for even bigger challenges. I was talking to my former mentor recently. She was my first mentor when I first became a leader. And at that time, I would almost cry. Like, would go and sit in the club, BBC club, for lunch every 6 weeks. And I would vent all my problems, all my challenges, and, and stuff. And then we'd go through them together. And she was always supporting me, Jane Taylor. Oh, my God, she was amazing. And then one day when I now moved to Nairobi to even take up a bigger position with bigger responsibility, the challenges were different. And the challenges I was facing then as focus editor were so small compared to what I had to deal with now. And I remember meeting her and telling her, and then she looked at me and she just laughed. She said, do you now see what you are dealing with? Do you compare it?
It's very minor.
It was so minor.
Yeah.
Compared to what you have to deal with now. And for me, and then she told me, you've grown.
Yeah.
Because you're able to laugh at some of those things you thought were problems because they were not that big. So I learned that those challenges prepared me for even bigger ones. And that is why I say nothing you go through
is never wasted. Ooh, I'm going to go with that. Because sometimes because you see now, your experience at BBC shaped you to now move to Nairobi and start a totally different role, totally different. Oh, wow. Anyway, how would you actually advise anyone who would want to get into BBC? Like what would we do maybe on like social media, freelance writing to stand out and be like, who is this little African girl in Nairobi sitting somewhere? What would you advise? What makes you stand out?
Yeah. One of the things I always say is just be you.
Okay.
If you're creative, be creative. I think one of the BBC is going through a transition, like many media houses around the world.
Yeah.
The media landscape is evolving with, digital transformation, and people are changing. Our audiences are changing the way they consume news. So the organization itself is also trying to, to evolve from the way it did things in the past. We know and recognize that Africa has probably the youngest population in the world, and the goal is to reach young people. So if you come in with great ideas about how we can engage the young audiences, that is a bonus.
Yeah.
Being bold, being creative, and being yourself. One thing I found was a lot of the time when people joined, they were recruited for being themselves. And then they go through training and then they come back and they're like, okay, we're now just going to be like BBC, really straight jacketed and serious. No, I think the key thing is remaining yourself. These days, I like to say if you're a creator, what journalists are trying to do is actually to learn how to engage audiences like independent creators. So still be a journalist, think like an editor, think like a journalist, but engage, like a creator and deliver like a creator, because the whole goal is to try and engage the younger generation who, research has shown are beginning to turn off from mainstream media.
Yeah.
Beginning to turn off from news because they find it depressing, it doesn't give them agency, but also they find it too complex and conveyed in a way that does not engage them. So the key thing is, how do you say, I'm going to help you reach this audience? The BBC advertises a lot. Right now, they've advertised several roles, even here in Nairobi. And it's usually very straightforward. You apply, go through a process, you're selected, and you get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, I definitely have to do my homework there. And you having all these roles, how did you start balancing like you're a mother, you're a wife, you're also a woman, like you're just a girl. Honestly, like, so how did you get time also for you?
For myself?
Yeah, for yourself, for your family.
Yeah.
How do you balance that? Because just was already working there. You
One
burn
of the
out a
things
lot.
that I've always said is when you understand that an institution cannot love you back, you get to know that family is important, friends are important. Basically, your work outside life, your life outside work is as important as your job is.
Yeah.
So you have to make time for it. There's nothing like balancing. It's making the time to do the things that you enjoy doing, whether it's looking after your family, going on holidays. One of the things that I really did very consciously is making sure I take my holidays. I take my leave. When I came to Nairobi, I was surprised. Many people don't want to take leave.
Yeah.
I used to take my leave very diligently. Every 3 months, I would take some time off.
Yeah.
And when I take my time off, I make sure I switch off. Unless it's a life or death issue, I switch off and I hand over to whoever is there to run the place while I'm away. Because I'm very conscious of that. And what I found in London was most people did that. In the UK, you don't interrupt people's holidays. You don't interrupt people's days off.
Yeah.
People respected that. But also recognizing that I need to train people to be able to do what I do when I'm not there. So that if I'm on the beach in Diani,
You already delegated work.
you're not sending me messages, WhatsApp,
Yeah.
did this. No, if I'm on the beach in Diani, I want to focus on Diani.
Yeah.
So it's being just conscious about it. Is it easy? No, it's not. It's difficult, but being intentional about it. Yeah.
We have a small game we started playing on Totally African Podcast where, how people say green flags, red flags. So for us, we call it a green blanket or a red blanket.
Oh my God. Okay.
So what are your green blankets? You can say one in each category when it comes to friendships, picking your partner, work, and also just yourself, like an individual. What is a green blanket and a red blanket? Like things you just see that, this one, no, this one, okay. I would receive it.
That's difficult. So
Yeah?
How you start with?
Okay, so let's say green blanket for family.
Family that eats together, stays together. Yes.
That's okay, yeah. So sticking together in the hard times and
Yes.
okay, red blankets. When it comes to family.
I'm quite fussy when it comes. I think my husband always says I have OCD.
Yeah.
So people who leave their shoes everywhere.
Oh,
That I can't stand.
you want it in a neat
It has to
way
be
in the corner.
nice in the corner,
Okay.
So they always know that, and they're always like, "Oh yeah, shoes. We have to put them,
Yeah.
in this particular."
Okay, so green blanket in the workspace.
Clear communication. If you don't want something, come and tell me.
Yeah.
and be open about it. It's amazing. Some of the most amazing people that I loved were the people who were very outspoken. I love that.
Okay.
I love to be challenged.
Red blanket in the workspace.
Not, passive aggressive.
Oh,
Pretending you are okay when you're not. And then
speak up. Yeah.
speak up.
Yeah. Okay. So green blanket as an individual, just as you for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Green blanket is, I'm an introvert. I want to take my green blanket home and just be myself. I enjoy I enjoy my company
Okay.
a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's understandable.
That is why the green blanket.
Yeah. Red blanket.
Out there.
Being the extrovert.
Being the extra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I've covered it. Family. Oh, friendship.
Yes.
Green blanket in friendships.
So the green blanket is I want to be able to be myself, be able to laugh and have a good time.
Yeah.
Without, feeling I'm withholding my authenticity.
Yeah.
And the red blanket is transactional relationships.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. I give you this because, or I'm with you because I expect something. I think we should just be friends without any sense of expectation.
That is powerful. And that's very, I think, that's a lot I have to learn. So I'm going to keep asking everyone this every episode so that I also just add these to my list. And we become better versions of ourselves. And I think one thing that also stood out was when you talk about family, like sticking together. And I think I was reading a podcast you also had where you're mentioning how your sister sacrificed and actually took time off school so that you could go to school, and she's paid this for you, like she paved the way for you also. Yes. That is very powerful. And those are siblings we don't have. Like, to be real, just to be honest, those are family members we don't even have. Even you saying like your uncle, like your dad was laid off for some time, so your uncle had to step in. Like, how can we incorporate these qualities even in this generation? People look like you're on your own. Yeah, we're a family, but your problems are yours.
I think to me that's what family is supposed to be.
Yeah.
You're supposed to stick together and support each other and do your best. I think what has changed in the world is we're becoming more self-centered, isolated from each other, everybody for himself. But I feel if I'm doing well, I should be able to support people who are not doing well. Now, there's a danger of this, the black tax, where it becomes overboard, where you begin, people have a sense of entitlement, they begin to take you for granted because you're supporting. I don't want to do that. I think if I feel, and one of the areas that I like to support is education.
Okay.
Because I believe education is a liberator and it's a leveler.
Yeah.
When you educate someone, they go on and become amazing. I educated one of my cousins, went to uni, has traveled the world, is doing the most amazing things with himself. He's married, got a kid. So, and I'm so proud of that because that means I don't have to keep sending him money. Yeah.
You're independent.
He's independent.
Yeah.
Look after himself, look after his family. So one way I always do it is through, giving people a chance to be educated. That is if they want to. Now, there are some times when people don't want to. I don't believe in handing out money constantly. It has to be for something big. If you're going to invest it, go and invest it and then don't come back.
Yeah.
Try and make it happen. But I'll give you a chance and the benefit of doubt. If you mess it up, then
that's on you.
No longer my problem.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think it's always good to support if you can. And if you have the capacity to.
Yeah. So don't be bending over backwards for something you can't.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you so much for being here with us on Totally African Podcast. And the last question we have for you is, Mrs. Rachael Akidi, how do you want to be remembered?
Hey.
I really put you in the hot seat.
Deep question. But I think I want to be remembered as someone who did everything with love.
Wow.
And did my best.
Yeah.
Wherever I was placed.
Wow. Yeah. That well said. There's nothing else you need to even add. Wow, that is powerful. Yeah. So you have an impact in everything you do. Thank you so much for being with us today on Totally African Podcast, and catch us on YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, Anchor. This episode is going everywhere. Thank you so much, Mrs. Akidi, for being here with us. And is there any final thing you'd want to say? Actually, by the way, even before you
about to wrap up.
I know. Sorry. I asked too many questions. It's a journalist in me. I know you also do, like, you mentor the younger generation. You mentor younger journalists, and how can someone actually become, a mentee? Yeah.
So to be honest, right now I do mentor a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's quite overwhelming.
Yeah.
So I've not got like a formal sort of network that mentors. I do it on a one-to-one basis, and I always like to give people the opportunity and time. If I'm mentoring them, when I make a commitment, I want to basically, go through with it.
Okay.
So normally it's, if some people approach me and if I think it is something I can support with, then, we have our initial conversation and then see where it goes from there.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll definitely ask you after this interview. But thank you so much. And I guess if you have any final things to add before we wrap up our episode.
No, this has been really great. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for dedicating this 1 hour. It was supposed to be 30 minutes, but I'm sure we've pushed it. And subscribe, like, and share. And we have more African stories to tell here on our Totally African Podcast. Bye.
Bye.